emojis.
You just did it, right? You
I
just
just shut everyone down, yeah.
Okay.
So if everyone can still hear us, throw some emojis up. Make sure everyone can hear us. Awesome.
Hello. Awesome.
All right. Cool. All right, we'll get started. So welcome to XR Creators. My name is John. For the first part of this presentation, everybody's going to be muted like this. And then in a second, I'll kind of explain, Mia kind of talked about it a little bit. I'll just explain how this is going to go. But for those of you who are new, this is a community that was formed by Mia, who is today's speaker. She formed it about 2 months ago. She kicked this off on Twitter and set up a Discord channel for like-minded XR creators and those who are interested in AR and VR to come together to share ideas and information. I approached Mia about expanding beyond Discord into the social VR space soon after she began, and we've run a few events in alt space so far, and they've been pretty well attended. This is the first formal presentation and Q&A session as part of what we hope will be an ongoing speaker series, and we intend to run every other week. So we've talked to several people so far about doing some talks, and we've had some pretty good response from people, and there's definitely some interest. So we hope in 2 weeks we'll have another speaker, and then thereafter every 2 weeks, hopefully we'll have some people. So this is my plug. If there's anybody in the audience who has an interest in VR and AR and you think you might have a topic to present, or if you're working on a project that you'd like to present, please get in touch with us. This group is open to people of all skill levels, and really no experience is necessary. You just have to have an interest in AR and VR. So with that, I'll give you a few ground rules, and then we'll get started. We ask that you treat the presenters and each other with respect. That should go without saying. Please don't come up on the stage during the presentation or Q&A sessions. Mia will be talking for about 10 or 15 minutes, after which we'll kind of open up a Q&A session, followed by an open forum. So we'll do the presentation, then we'll do a more controlled Q&A session, and then we'll just open it up and people can mingle and talk and do whatever at that point. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mia Smith. Please give a round of emoji applause for her.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. And just to follow up, John's all the way over there, just to follow up with what John said, if you are interested in joining our group, no obligation, but if you have any interest in XR, VR, AR, we do have a Discord group that he mentioned. You're welcome to join that if you'd like, and that is going to be over here on the right side of the stage. We have a nice convenient link if you want to just put that into your browser, and it'll take you right to our server. All right,
hey, Mia.
So, yes.
Mia, real quick, before you get started, can everyone give me emojis to make sure that, can you hear me okay? Hearts, if hearts, yeah, okay. Okay, cool.
I just had to raise my mic a bit before, but I guess we're okay. All right, and just letting you know, I'm going to be scrolling through a number of photos throughout the presentation, so just bear with me and just please be a little patient. I'm just going to have to turn around and kind of scroll through them that only I can see me scrolling, but it might take a few seconds just to switch to the next picture. Just please bear with me a little bit. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. All right, and whenever I'm facing the screen, that's when I'm going to be looking through my pictures. All right. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our XR Creators event today. As John mentioned, and as you all know, my name is Mia Smith. I'm a co-host with John, and I'm going to be talking about my VR work and journey today. So I'm really honored to be speaking with you all, and John and I are, as I mentioned before, really hoping this kicks off an amazing series of speakers to come. So as I stand in front of you all now, obviously I can call myself a VR developer, and I'm really passionate about incorporating psychology with immersive technology to help better the lives of other people. But I didn't start out as a VR developer, actually far from it, and I had never even heard of VR until a few years ago. Sorry, this button is really tiny, just gotta get my mouse on it. We got a funny picture. So for my whole life, ever since I could hold a crayon, I was an artist, and I always said to myself that that's what I would be when I grew up. Little did I know that where I would end up would be really different, but at the same time, it would still allow me to express myself in the exact same way. Forgive me for this, I'm sorry. Vault space could only make the window a little bigger. So in elementary, middle, and high school, art was always my focus. I enjoyed other subjects as well, of course, but creativity was always at the heart of all my projects and work. In high school, I pursued art further as part of the International Baccalaureate program. I had my art featured in a number of exhibitions. I did painting, drawing, some sculpture, photography. Really just a mix of everything, and I loved art. It was something that just made me feel, really free. I could express myself, all my emotions I had. There was nothing quite like art, that could help me use that, as a vehicle to create things that I love, but also kind of a catharsis in a way. And then during my high school time, I was fortunate enough in the spring semester of my junior year to attend the Oxbow School in Napa, California. It's a semester school focused on the arts, and here I really felt like I learned to truly express myself, and I could make what felt right to me and not necessarily what other people wanted me to make. The campus was beautiful. As you can see, we were right on the river. It was just a really great experience. But I found like I really found myself during these 4 months in high school. And this really solidified to me, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. I really want to be an artist. So for my first year of college, I attended the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, Maryland, otherwise known as MICA. I focused strictly on art. It was an art school. There weren't really too many other academic courses. I think you had to take one math course during your whole time there, so it really was just an art-driven, I guess, syllabus, I could say. But throughout middle and high school, I found myself becoming increasingly interested in technology and AI. And philosophy of AI as well. And I actually considered pursuing a dual degree at Johns Hopkins. But I felt like pursuing the degrees at two different schools might be too divided. I wasn't going to be able to find any way to combine them. And I felt like, maybe this isn't the exact place for me that I should be at. I actually created some of my best artwork to date at MICA, and I'm really grateful for my time that I had there, but I knew that I needed to make a change for myself in order to pursue what I loved. And I'm just going to pop up some pictures on screen. My work always focused on the human experience and emotions and, just really, just a raw feeling. And I was always very interested in my audience's interpretations, and again, I still found art to be, such a successful release of emotions, and it was really beautiful to me. And this was a really cool piece. I really enjoyed making this. It was one of my final projects, and the only prompt that we had was to incorporate light, and so that one was really cool. I like that one a lot. So, in the fall of 2016, going into my sophomore year, I transferred to Skidmore College up in Saratoga Springs in upstate New York. This transfer was a really big step for me in the right direction to continue that well-rounded education that I received in high school, and for me to combine my artistic skills, with something related to AI or technology. I was still really interested in that. I wasn't exactly sure how to begin or if there would even be courses there at all. But that was my dream, and I was really determined to make that dream come true. So I still began with art courses at Skidmore. I made some pretty cool pieces there as well. This one, I focused on fiber. So fiber was my concentration, and this piece was actually a voice recording of somebody very dear to me, who I had lost during my college experience. But this was a voice recording of them saying something, very sweet to me, and I weaved it into a probably 50 by 80-inch piece. It's huge. I love it. I see it all the time in my room. That was really special to me. And then let me see. I think that might be it. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the right pictures. So then I discovered psychology. I took the introductory psychology 101, that most people have to take in college, and I just fell in love right away. I've always been fascinated by human behavior, why people do what they do. And like I mentioned, I had taken a few philosophy courses. In college, I took Mind, Thought, and Consciousness, and then I took a course on the philosophy of artificial intelligence. Absolutely loved them. I thought they were fascinating, but there was something more concrete about psychology, something measurable, something that I could see in my everyday life and in others. I was immediately attracted to clinical psychology, cognition, psych disorders, and studying mental illness, in order to supplement my interest in learning about human thought and behavior. And helping others has always been a big passion of mine, so this really seemed like the field for me. So my first college internship was at the Four Winds Saratoga Psychiatric Hospital on the Children's Unit. This was in the fall of 2018. This has been my most rewarding experience to date. I can't think of anything else that I loved any more than being with these kids every day. These kids were ages 4 to 12, which might be a bit surprising, but I assisted them in school, interpersonal activities, and I learned about individualized treatment plans. Just to be candid, I would go home, every night for the first month and just cry, over these children. Some of them were suffering from some pretty severe mental illness. Some of them had, disorders that, involved being, having psychosis. A lot of these kids had PTSD, they suffered, abuse from family, family friends. Some of the kids were under care, from the government. A lot of these kids were being medicated on things like lithium, antidepressants, antipsychotics. And, you kind of wonder why doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists do what they do. And I was really curious in the whole treatment aspect and what helped one child feel better than maybe another child, or, seeing the growth of these children over time and how I could be a part of that. And that was really special to me. And my second internship was at something called the Create Community Studios. It was also in Saratoga Springs. I co-designed art therapy workshops for adolescents, and that was fun as well. And these internships were so valuable to me, and really confirmed my desire to help children and adults affected by mental illness. So I've got another bit of a funny picture again. At the same time, I began taking computer science courses at Skidmore. I wasn't exactly sure how much I would like it, and this photo kind of illustrates that. I am lying on the floor while doing some homework. I was a bit frustrated, so I took a break. But there was something really satisfying to me about the fact that when something works, it works in programming. You can create anything: calculators, visuals, programs, websites, music. And that was really cool to me. And this was kind of my first jump into the digital world. As I had shown you guys before, I really did fine arts, painting, drawing. A lot of it was, I had never really done graphic design, 3D modeling or anything like that. So this was, interesting to me to be on computers and be able to create stuff in a very different way. And so this kind of began the start of my VR journey. Let me pull up this photo. So during a course for my psych disorders class, I was in my first VR experience, and it targeted a phobia of heights. I convinced myself right away that I would be totally immune to thinking it was real, but I was sweating, I was shaking, I was holding on to the administrator. He's actually a colleague of mine now, which is really funny, but the same professor for the course, who was my advisor, published a research study, and it's right up here. Might be tough to read, but she and a few other professors at my college developed an AR program to target arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. And I thought this was really interesting. I had never seen anything like this, and I didn't even know that immersive technology was being used for therapy. And I thought this was really cool. And immediately after doing this experience, I went to that professor and I said, this is what I want to do. And I was just so convinced, this is something that could combine my three interests: art, psychology, and technology. And so, as luck would have it, many of you have probably seen this on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter. As luck would have it, a Unity 3D course was being offered in the spring, which was my last semester, this past January in 2019. I knew I wanted to create a project that was, really going to be the culmination of my college experience and what I had learned in psychology and computer science, and of course be able to incorporate my design skills. I was really interested in taking the reins and being in charge of all aspects of development. So I ended up creating a VR simulation as part of an independent study that was alongside the intro course. And it was intended to emulate VR exposure therapy for patients with anxiety disorders. And this one specifically focused on paranoia and scopophobia, which is the fear of being stared at. So it takes place in a 16-block city, and the user walks around, and when the user enters a specific radius around the avatars will look right at you. It's a bit creepy. Oh, this guy's eyeball right here, I don't know if it's like that for you guys. It's looking in the wrong direction. I don't think that's supposed to happen, but that's really funny. But they're supposed to look right at you when you walk by. It's a little unnerving. And so, people were creeped out when they tried it out, and it was successful. And that was, the whole purpose of that. And so I was able to test this project on a Rift. And even being the creator, I spent 30 hours a week on this for 4 months. I was still really creeped out, and, sometimes I really didn't even want to look at it, which was funny. So I then graduated in May. And I felt, a real sense of completeness. I had achieved the dreams that I had at the beginning of my college career, to finish my undergraduate studies, doing what I love and incorporating all my passions and being able to, hopefully make a difference in my professional career, in the lives of others, and, help improve others' quality of life, even if it's not specifically therapy, even, just mindfulness or programs that everybody can benefit from in our very busy world that we live in today. And a few weeks beforehand, I had found out that I was graduating with honors and also accepted into the International Honor Society in Psychology. So that was really great. That felt like a big, bang at the end of college. That was kind of everything I was working towards. And I got to graduate wearing some pretty cool stuff, as you can see in the picture. So ever since I graduated, while I love the academic and research-focused aspect of the previous project, I've been really interested lately in creating a more organic, emotional VR experience that promotes mindfulness and well-being. So I began experimenting with more nature-esque landscapes and fantasy-like exploration worlds. And this and my continued desire to help others with anxiety is what compelled me to create what is currently known as Project Happiness. So in this simulation, the user these are just some screenshots from probably a month ago, so this was right when I was starting out. But the user will go on an adventure in an open world, and depending on their emotions or mood, they'll experience, a sense of calm, and they'll be able to meditate a bit, depending on which feeling they choose at the very beginning. And here are some of the emotions. These cute little guys that, will kind of take you through this journey. So Project Happiness is, I'm sorry, I have my back towards you. These photos are just a bit of a pain. But Project Happiness is still in active development. I've been teaching myself a bit of 3D modeling and rendering as of the last 2 weeks or so. This will allow me to import my own custom items, custom creations into my VR worlds. This was made in Cinema 4D. This would be a bit tough to, integrate into Unity. Unity is not, as powerful in terms of lighting and rendering, but it was really just getting my foot into the door, see what I can create, use that in my simulations, and, really make it my own. And then I created this one the other day, and I was really proud of it. This one was pretty cool. I like that one a lot. So now, finally, I am here today with you all And between our Discord server and our XR Creators Altspace channel, I never could have expected to meet so many amazing people, and you all encouraged me on a daily basis to do my best and pursue what I love. And that will be it for me. And I'd like to thank you all so much for listening to me today. And we can now open it up to discussion and anybody who has any questions. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so we've cleared, a few people have raised their hand throughout the presentation. I didn't know if that was a mistake or not, so I cleared all of the questions. So if you have a question, there's a raised hand to your right. You can click on it and we'll pick you. And like I said, if we'll go through some of those and then we'll just open the whole thing up eventually. I don't prefer being the bouncer in the situation, but I've had to bounce a few people already, so hopefully when it opens up, it doesn't turn into total chaos. So
Right,
Julian, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say we can just have you guys ask some questions if you'd like. Again, just press that raise hand button and you will be put in the queue, and I'll answer them in order. And then maybe after a little bit, maybe at 4:45, if it goes that long, we can open it up maybe to a bigger discussion and have you all unmuted. If we can all talk together. All right, let me.
So Julian, yeah, do you want to take Julian? So Julian, we're going to give you the megaphone. You probably have to approve taking it, and then you can talk, and we should be able to hear you.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Great. That was awesome talk, Mia.
Thank you.
The question that I had is around maybe your ideas and thoughts around helping folks maybe have lost loved ones with VR, and if you've thought about that.
So I've spoken to a lot of companies since I graduated, and there are companies that focus on Alzheimer's actually with the elderly, and they are trying to incorporate ways to remind them of their loved ones or have their loved ones preserved in pictures on the TV, things like that. I feel like maybe there's a more immersive way to do that. I actually visited a company the other day, and I'm not sure if any of you have heard of this technology. You might have. I've never seen it. I thought it was like out of the future. It's called a volumetric capture. And basically what it is the person you're trying to record stands in a quote-unquote green room, and there are a bunch of cameras all around them, and the cameras record them in 3D. And you can use that in AR or VR, and it looks like the person is really right in front of you, like there's a live video. And that was something, actually the most recent thing that I heard about that reminds me directly of your question. You can't incorporate stuff like scents. Maybe if they wore a perfume, that stuff is tough. But maybe having something like if they wore a shirt that they always wore, if you've lost a loved one, maybe they had a shirt that was their iconic shirt that they always wore. Maybe if you don't have that shirt anymore, if there's a picture of it, maybe you can recreate it in VR and just hold a regular shirt in real life, but still have that tactile element, and maybe be able to incorporate things that way. Not exactly sure, but those are just a few of my ideas.
So Julian, sorry I cut you off, and I didn't know if you were going to have a follow-up or anything. So wave your hand if you're good, and we'll move on. Are you all set? Or, did you want to say something else? All right, hang on one second. Raise your hand for me, and I'll just add you back. All right. Sorry, I don't see you. We'll move on. If you had something else to add, though, please add yourself back. I won't cut people off so quickly in the future. So Tomo is the next person. So Tomo, I'm giving you the megaphone. Just accept it.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi.
Okay. Mia, I wonder if you could give us some 2 or 3 interesting and intriguing anecdotes of the things that most intrigued and fascinated you in what you applied it to, like the particular consequence, the outcome of a given individual from the VR experience that you'd contrived for them.
So are you asking, what are ways that I've seen people react to things like this in VR?
Yeah, I particularly think what most fascinated you and pleased you about what you did to particular individuals, just some stories, that's all.
Okay, so I was only able to present my city experience in an academic festival at my school because I'm not, I'm not a psychologist, a licensed practitioner, so I can't technically release it as a therapy tool because I don't have the license to do so. But it's emulating something in psychology called exposure therapy, which is used in phobias. So in real life, what might happen, let's say someone has a phobia of a dog, these individuals will have panic attacks, and some items or aspects, it might sound a little silly, but to these people, these things are really terrifying and fear-inducing. And so let's say you have a phobia of a dog. You might start off with thinking about a dog, something as simple as that, so they don't experience such high anxiety that they don't even want to do the therapy. So, this can take weeks or months, and you'll build up to seeing a picture of a dog, a video of a dog, over time. And eventually, the hope is that these people will be able to have a dog in real life, right in front of them. So while I have not actually seen individuals over time experience VR therapy in person, and I haven't personally administered my experiences to them, it's been said that it can be as or more effective than real life exposure therapy and traditional psychotherapy. I can imagine that they feel much more confident. Their anxiety isn't as high. The panic attacks lessen in frequency and intensity. So I'm sorry I can't exactly answer your question, but I do know that it's effective and that it does work and it has positive outcomes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tim. Julian, I'm going to give this back to you just because I stole it away from you maybe too soon.
Yeah, all good. I actually had a hard time finding the raised hand. No, thanks for that answer before. Actually, the follow-up that I had was around your paintings that you did and the creativity that you have doing that. How hard was it for you to translate that into the digital world, coming from the physical world of your paintings that I admired during your session?
Thank you. So it's a bit of an answer. So during my time at Skidmore, the school that I spent 3 years at, when I had lost that person that was really close to me, I created an incredible vast amount of artwork in a short period of time. And in that class, of course, you have critiques in art courses. And because it was something that I really wanted to make for myself and for nobody else, I accepted the critiques, but it was, tough on me to hear negative things about, somebody that I, loved so dearly. And so it kind of pushed me away from art for a little bit. And, I focused on academics and things like that. And I felt like I was really ready for something new, something that I could still use to create. And I always say the best part about working in the digital world is that there's an undo button. I can't tell you how many times I tried to cover something up in real life. I had to use whiteout. I had to use, if it was going up in a gallery and there was like a spot on it, I'd have to use a pen in my backpack. And so that was really great for me. And I think, there are as many possibilities in 3D as there are in real life. And so it was really kind of just that emotional, period where, I really wanted to create that art for myself. And I kind of, branched out, and I wanted to, kind of escape the whole critique, academic, focus on my artwork. I'm not sure what made me change to 3D or digital. I think it was just, timing and learning about VR. But yeah, my art journey has definitely been a long one and a windy one. But I still love art just the same. And I, obviously I love working digitally now. So it's always been something that's, very close to me.
Thanks, Julian. All right, the next person is NDE Chris.
All right, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, hi, if I lose you, it's just because I've dropped out like twice now, but I do have a question. I'm just going to kind of give a little background first to get to it. So I work for a nonprofit research and development organization that primarily serves the power industry. So we have many initiatives for the digital worker. For instance, I use augmented reality to overlay basically radar images on top of GPS coordinates for numerous different types of applications. AR, AI is definitely the future of more things than anyone can contemplate. But to give my exact background, I basically use tools like what they call electromagnetic acoustic transducers, which is basically taking and creating an electromagnetic field on a material, which creates a mechanical sound wave in a part to diagnose it, just like you would at a doctor. So just in case you've never heard, go ahead and Google alternative cancer therapies. They actually use this exact type of technology to attack cells in the body. But my real interest is how we can incorporate things, not only that same technology that's used, again, electromagnetic fields all around us. You get more non-ionizing radiation actually from the sun than you do most things. But how we incorporate these things into even alternative healing is of my personal interest. So leading to that, and one of my questions for you is have you thought of how you take, because I think you definitely have something with the psychology aspect and being able to create a world and walk through experiences. But obviously you do need some type of physical stimuli to probably to add to that. And have you thought of that type of scenario or just kind of that next step on, because you don't have maybe you're not a psychologist, but there's people go to numerous places for healing in general.
Do you mean physical in terms of your environment, or in terms of experiencing sensations or holding objects, or kind of all three?
Basically a holistic option. So again, we're already using VR and AR to accomplish most things. For instance, we at the Institute take microwaves and put them on UAVs to volumetrically inspect wind turbine blades, right? And then the person itself uses VR goggles to view the world and the data in real time. And so what I'm saying is for healing, these same technologies, by the way, microwaves are used not only to cook your food, but to even screen for breast cancer, right? And so what I'm saying is so the solution that the product I'm talking about for my work encompasses VR, AR, and these other types of waves. And so you're talking about psychology using, virtual reality and those types of things. And my question is, have you thought about how you could take this platform, but incorporate the physical stimuli to just create something that has a little bit of everything, for that same type of healing and that goal that you're going after? I know it's a loaded question, but
I think I understand what you're getting at, and I think I have two answers that might answer what you're getting at. So there is, so in terms of, I guess you were talking about cancer screening and radiology, and that is all really great, of course. And there's actually a company that I've been keeping in touch with a lot over the course of the last few months. Some of you might have heard of Story Up Studios, and they have a product called Helium, and it's spelled Heal. And so they have this meditation VR experience. I think it's available on all headsets, actually. And I don't want to, misspeak or say something wrong, but they put on some sort of band around your head, and it measures, I think it measures a few physiological responses. It measures your heart rate, your blood pressure, your brain waves, and that actually helps the administrator and the user determine whether it is working to reduce anxiety, because you can actually see it in concrete physical form. Oh, my heart rate is lower, it must be working. My blood pressure is lower, it must be working. I'm not sweating as much, it must be working. So in that sense, you were talking about using, I guess, technology to monitor well-being. In terms of literal physical environments or objects, I've spoken with people who incorporate heat lamps when there are fires in simulations. They have smells in real life that they, release from I guess something similar to an Airwick candle on the wall. And people hold objects that are the same objects in the experiences. And I think there are a lot of ways you can incorporate the physical world with VR. I think the number one or the two concerns would be safety. Because if you're experiencing these things in real life, it's going to be more believable. You're going to want to move around in a space. You don't want to trip over a step. You don't want to walk into the heat lamp. And realism, if there's a fork in the VR experience, you're not going to want to give them a baseball bat because, it's not going to line up. I don't know if either of those answered your question, but I don't know if I'm not sure I can hear you anymore.
Chris, raise your hand again. So while I'm waiting for Chris, I just have a couple of things to add. Oh, Chris, you're going to be back here. A couple of things to add.
I'm back.
So,
Okay.
Cool.
So I don't know what
happened.
Yeah.
No. I can get disappears after a little bit. I was just going to add two quick things. One, just in case you're interested or anybody here is interested, I'm pretty sure that helium is for the one of the women involved in helium is having a webinar next week. So go take a look at that if you're at all interested in that company. And then also we have a couple of people we've talked to about doing some presentations here. Caitlin, whose last name escapes me right this minute.
Correct.
And Roxanne, who last I knew was out in the audience somewhere, who are both have some interest in maybe not holistic medicine per se, but presence and meditation and those sorts of things. So there may be a little bit of overlap in some of our future talks potentially with some of the things you might be interested in. But go ahead, Chris. Did you have another thing you wanted to say?
I just wanted to add that you did answer the question. I just wanted to encourage the thought process of while a lot of these worlds are in their own little silo, I think that it's how we can bring them all together is interesting. There's an app called Trip, right, where it walks you through some of that meditation.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Some of you might be familiar with Reiki, that actually has to do with your electromagnetic field. Binary beats has to do with sound waves and how they affect you. And I guess all I'm trying to say is the same thing that's happening in the tech world through the healing. We call it holistic alternative because it doesn't fit maybe the main Western definition of medicine. But I guess how we can take all of these tools and add them into the one product, I think is just the interesting aspect in the future of how we'll probably look at psychology as a whole. But that's it, and I'm done. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Sure.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with you.
Looks like our next person is Jordan. Jordan, go ahead and accept the megaphone.
Hello.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yep.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Number one, I want to thank you and the organizers for this, and also for organizing these events in general and getting it started. But also, thank you for promoting this on Twitter. This has allowed me to experience VR presentation for the very first time, so thank you so much. For my question, I am a software engineer that has just discovered VR, and my curiosities are around how VR can revolutionize knowledge work. That to analogize to that, I saw that in the presentation that your current work is around Project Happiness. My question to you is, what are some specific hypotheses that are rolling around in your head right now with regard to what you're passionate about in VR? Are there questions that you're looking to investigate in the near future?
So I guess the biggest one, which is probably on a lot of people's minds, is I just posted this on Twitter a few hours ago. I posted a poll. Can VR replace real life, or can it be as realistic as real life? I am not trying to create something that's totally realistic. I think that would freak everybody out, and I'm not sure if it would be successful. But I've always been interested in alternate realities, And, if anything else is out there, if we're a simulation, kind of along those lines. And I think stemming from the experience I had in that one psychological disorders course with the phobia of heights simulation, where I was heights were my biggest fear. So, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I was really convinced I wasn't going to be scared. And I think the first thing I found really fascinating was the fact that my brain could not tell that it wasn't real, even though it didn't look real. It looked like it was, it was realistic enough, but it looked like a decent quality video game. You could tell everything was 3D rendered, but I was still sweating. I was scared. And I think something that's really interesting for me is, how, in either a good or a bad way, maybe not that we should necessarily do it, but how far can we push people's emotions in VR? Video games are one thing. You can experience an emotional video game storyline, but that's not the same as being in an environment. You can, sad to say, you can torture people in VR. If you force them to wear the headset, you can make them experience a whole range of emotions. I guess akin to doing something in real life. And I of course, that is not what I'm looking to do. But I am, I guess, combining my studies in with Project Happiness. I'm really interested in seeing if you can provide true happiness and a place of escape and a respite from the real world in a virtual one, and seeing how far we can push positive emotions and how much we can improve people's lives. If you can improve them as equally as you can in real life.
Thank you so much for your perspective on that.
Sure.
All right, thanks, Jordan. Drew is up next.
Hi, I want to know, maybe could I do a presentation or something?
Not today. Feel free
Not right this
to hop-
minute.
No, feel free to hop on the Discord. It's on the right, and you can feel free to message either one of us if you're interested in presenting something. All right.
I think that's
Okay.
it. We don't have anyone else.
I see
Oh,
two
Tomo.
more.
Oh, you do?
I know.
Okay.
Tomo.
Tom-
Again.
Tomo's up. Yeah.
Confirm. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I personally use visualizations a great deal for motivation, and I've recently, in the last few years, used them on the screen of my PC for the background and for the screensaver. So I gather pictures of things I want to have, be, and do, and I put them there, and they constantly appear, and they greatly affect the way I feel and think and my happiness. I wonder
Right.
whether you've thought of using VR for that as well, because I'm intending to use VR. To me, is the ultimate at the moment, best technology could be, for visualizations of what you want to have, be, and do, what you want to be in the future. You can dress yourself up, you can be in a nice home, you can be being a doctor, whatever it is. Have you thought about doing that?
Well, yeah. So I guess you can, liken that very much to The Sims. Am I frozen? Am I okay?
You popped out for a second, but you're back.
But I'm okay now. Okay.
Yeah, you're good
I
now.
guess-
You're good.
Okay, I guess you can liken that to The Sims, especially with The Sims 4. The graphic, or the realism of the avatars improved greatly from The Sims 3 to The Sims 4. I have my own world. My house has got to be this 4-story modern house. It's got to, it's on a 40 by 30 lot, which that doesn't make sense in real life, but it's multiple acres. Lavish countertops. I'm dressed to the nines. You can really create a life in there any way you want. And I guess you could do the same in VR. Especially since I mentioned that volumetric capture. I learned from the company the other day that actually exporting and taking home a minute of that footage is $30,000 US. So it's a bit expensive at the moment. But hypothetically, yes, I guess you could import yourself in some way into a virtual world, and if I can create a beautiful home, in another program and import it, I can see myself literally walking around in this world and being whoever I want. But I think there are a lot of
I found pictures. I found
Right.
pictures alone. I've got beautiful pictures that I've taken off the web. There's a website called the Rob Report, extremely wealthy people sort of website. And I'm not that rich, but you can get beautiful pictures, homes or equipment or jobs or clothing, whatever it is. You can put pictures of a mansion in there, and even if it's just pictures, it's so big, it's very gripping, it's very engaging and engrossing. It's much better than, I've got a 27-inch screen that I'm looking at most of the time, and it's pretty good there, but in VR it's even more immersive and more gripping and more powerful and affecting what I want to have, be and do. You know, it really grabs me and it gives me confidence and it gives me motivation to go out and get it, you know, it's really good.
Right. Well, I think for me and for others, one of the biggest considerations and I guess concerns would be at what point would you want that to be your life instead? You know, you find all these beautiful pictures online. Does your life suddenly become boring, or you know, you suddenly realize, oh my God, I have nothing. You know, maybe you have more of a depressed outlook as a result of that. Oh my God, I don't want to be in my life anymore.
Quite the contrary, because it becomes real. Like it becomes, I know where I'm going now. You know what I mean? It's wonderful. It's like somebody told you
as a source of
tomorrow
motivation?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody told you, Mia, I've got to tell you that a relative has just left you $50 million. You wouldn't think, oh, that's terrible, my life now is terrible. You say, wow, look what I'm going to do now.
That is true, but I definitely agree with that. But I also think, I think certain people are more susceptible to addiction or, things like that. And, maybe if they see these environments and they see how great it can be, or they create their own worlds that are, luxurious and wealthy, and they create a version of themselves that's truly happy, and maybe in real life they're not happy. I think there is the risk of wanting to be in the VR world instead. And I definitely agree with you. I think VR can be used both for good and bad, motivation, and, also you can create whatever you want. So, maybe you might think, wow, my life's not that great. Look at everything I could have and I don't. So it's definitely a double-edged sword for sure. I think maybe you've been muted. I'm not sure.
No. I was just,
oh, okay.
I was just yeah.
Anything else I can answer?
No, that was fine, thanks.
Okay.
I just wanted to raise the idea of visualization because I found it fabulous. It's a fabulous enhancement of my life,
Yes,
I
I definitely agree that it could work that way, for sure. I definitely agree with you.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. Hello.
I learned something new, I learned something new tonight. So when we started this presentation, I live in the northern United States, and it gets dark early around here. When we started this, it was light outside, and then it suddenly got dark enough that my Oculus Quest tracking totally shut down, and I lost control of my headset. I had to turn some lights on in the room. So now I can see. So our next person here is Anthony. Are you there, Anthony? No, Anthony. Oh, Anthony disappeared. How about physics guy? Physics DU.
Physics dude.
Physics dude. Oh, that's all I could see. Sorry.
Yeah, it does cut it off. Physics duh. That would be kind of funny. But
yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. If you guys could get off the stage, that would be great. Thank you.
You were talking about...
Or else we might have to kick you out. Thank you. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you were talking about photogrammetry earlier, and somebody actually did a presentation here in Allspace 3 or 6 months ago about how to do that sort of stuff. So do some hunting and searching. You might be able to get in contact with him and, learn some tips about that. So just a comment.
Yes, thank you. Yes. We'll think about that. Thank you.
I missed that whole conversation.
Oh, they
Okay.
were just some suggestions for our alt space experience.
Well,
What
Selena,
might be able to help us
Selena,
going forward.
oh, cool. Selena, you're up.
Hello. I had some questions about, hi, how are you? I had some questions about your work and when it comes to developing systems that help train people on emotional intelligence. If you've found any applications within VR that are actually in use for sort of developing scenarios that people could actually use to help develop their own level of emotional intelligence.
Not that I can particularly think. Well, that's not true. I've actually heard of a number of experiences that help teach empathy.
Yes.
I think that is the one that I've heard of the most. I can't really think of any others in particular at the moment. But I've done an experience once. I just tested it for a company, but it was handling empathy in the workplace, which is very valuable. The scenario was that a number of employees were about to lose their jobs, but they didn't know who. And some employees were very distraught. Some people had a sort of, oh, it is what it is, and attitude. Some people had a feeling they were going to stay and were kind of talking down to the other people, like, oh, you could find this easily, or you have siblings who are rich, it'll be fine. And it really encouraged you to, you had a number of options of answers that you could pick in response to how the people spoke to you, and what you were in conversations with other people. And there was one answer that was the best one, but the journey kind of changed based on how you responded. And that was cool because, if you messed up, it kind of took you to the beginning and said, that's not the right answer for this reason. That's not exactly what you should have said to help that person feel better.
Yes.
And that helped.
We could do it where the hand buzz you, like give you an electrical shock.
Yeah, I mean, it seems it's almost like when you put an electric collar on a dog. I don't know if I would do that to a dog or a person, but I guess it's a good idea. But
Right.
I've seen an app for children who have autism, and it helps them, become more aware of their own emotions, become more aware of other children's or other individuals' emotions, and that one helps teach them social skills too. It escapes me at the moment. I actually think it's called Moment AR. It might be called that.
Wow.
Something like that. But yes, it's made for children with autism, and it's pretty cool. I saw it a number of months ago, but those are the only two that come to mind at the moment. But I'm sure there are others that are in development because VR, AR, and other technology and mental health is really becoming a more prevalent combination today.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so I don't see any other official questions, do you, Mia?
I see
And
the
it's
one.
almost, oh, you do?
Oh no, it's the same. Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost 5 o'clock, and I think I can hang around for a few minutes. Can you
Yeah, me too.
hang around a little bit? Yeah. So we'll open this up in a second, but before we open it up, we might as well do a selfie. You want to do a selfie with everybody?
Yeah. So
Get a couple of
why don't
promo
you-
pictures.
Yeah, so why don't you all stand on that rug and just face us, and throw up a bunch of emojis. Just keep doing it. And John, do you want to get next to me or something? And I'll take a selfie.
Yeah, we'll do a
And
couple.
I really hope that this works. Let's see. All right, hold on. Okay. Black person on the stage, would you mind moving? The black robot on the stage, would you mind getting off the stage, please? Thank you very much. All right, we're looking good. I'm going to take a few.
Oh, nice. I'll go stand in the crowd here if you can.
All right, cool. All right, keep going, guys. These look really good. All right, black robot. I'm sorry. Would you mind
Yeah,
getting off
he's
the
about
stage
to get
again?
booted.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, and I'm just going to do one more. Thank you guys. Your fingers are probably tired. All right, one more. Awesome. Thank you guys. Those look fantastic.
All right, let's see if we can open this up now.
Those are great pictures. Those are really cool.
All right, so it should be open for people to just talk. Again, try to keep in mind, treating each other with respect and all that good stuff. So,
Roxanne.
Yeah, I was curious about how what were the results of that that program where the folks were close to you that you were showing at the end there?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? My thing cut out a bit.
Sure. That test you did at the end, where the folks would walk up to other people who were afraid of people walking up to them. What were the results of that?
Oh, yes. So, you mean... that one?
Yeah, that one.
So this guy's eyeball is really bothering me. I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know why the image is like that. It looks like his one eyeball's facing the wrong way, but
I don't think I could last more than 3 minutes in there.
that's yeah. So the video, I can't import a video into Altspace. I'm sure there is a way, but just on this big screen, I can only do captures. But yeah, so they actually turn their head to look at you. I had to program all that. It was pretty tough. But they actually turn your head to look at you when you get within a specific radius. So they look like they're walking normally with their heads straight ahead, as you can see in the top right picture. But as you get closer, they'll look directly at you. It's supposed to creep you out. It's supposed to make you feel like they're paying attention to you. They're focusing on you. They're talking about you. And it's
Make you
supposed to
paranoid.
incite, yes, it's supposed to incite anxiety. The purpose of exposure, therapy is to make you anxious. But basically, the premise is, if you learn to face your fears, you'll feel anxious. But over time, you'll learn, I'm really anxious, but I don't have much to be anxious about because it's really not that bad.
Sure.
Yeah, that was creepy though. Yes. With the pink
I'm
hat.
new here. What is all this about?
So I just gave a presentation for about an hour about my work. my VR work.
So now we're doing questions and answers and mingling. And
Oh, and thank you,
whatnot.
by the way. That was a great talk.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Hey,
Good behind you.
Yes.
upon graduating from college, how did the industry look like as far as looking for opportunities to work in VR and AR?
So searching for jobs in immersive technology is interesting. A lot of the positions require a lot of experience. A lot of them, especially on LinkedIn, I find a lot of them were asking for senior developers, senior artists, and I had only, at the time, had 1 semester of Unity under my belt. So, I was nowhere near having 4 or 5 years of experience. I think the combination of what I was interested in helped me a bit, combining VR with psychology, and, that's kind of a new field that I think that people were interested in learning about. I found that Twitter I didn't have a Twitter before I made this work account, but having a Twitter has been the best thing that I've done. The best thing that I've done. The VR, AR, XR community is much larger than I thought it would be. I thought it would be. I thought there would be not that many people who, incorporated VR with things other than gaming. And I was so wrong on that. People, do it for therapy. They do it for physical therapy. They do it for medicine, sports, all sorts of stuff. And Twitter's a great place to connect. And I've gotten a lot of great connections through Twitter. I've probably met people from 15 different companies. So yeah, I've had, I've spoken to a lot of people about opportunities. And Twitter's great, personally, because you have the people who are on LinkedIn also on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I like Twitter, yeah. It's been a great experience being able to meet everybody.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.